Hello, hello, I'm the official narrator. And guess what, guys? It's time! We're finally here at Skarmory! In case you didn't know, Skarmory is my favorite Pokemon ever. And if you're new to the show, what we do is we go through the first page of Google, review the nicknames provided by the internet, and then at the end I give my recommendations and personal favorites. And yeah, we're looking at Skarmory, so this will be fun. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this one out the way. Oh, go to hell. So this thing that I'm not going to try to pronounce because I just don't feel like it, I went ahead and I looked because I wasn't entirely sure. This is one of the things that it says Skarmory is based off of. So guess what? Naming your mouth cat is not fucking original. It's dumb and stupid and I hate you. Osprey is actually what Pidgeot is. So it's not even the right bird, but whatever. Carbon, I'm not sure how I feel about. I'm going to acknowledge it just for the sake of it, but I don't know if I'd be like, oh yeah, super cool. I'd be like, yeah, that's a thing, I guess, if you want to name stuff after the elements, sure. I don't really think it fits Skarmory, but whatever. I'm going to acknowledge this just because I know for a fact we're going to see it 1,000 times. Starscream is one of the things that, like, I remember being the most popular choice for Skarmory nicknames. Scarscream is just a play on words for that, if you want to. Top 50 names! We only got about 44. Why'd you even make the fucking thing? So, I don't know this guy. It's been a long time since I was in history class. But we did talk about Amelia Earhart in the Firo episode. So I guess if you want to go ahead and do that, that's fine. But also just name, and I use this as a generic flying type that you could apply to just about anyone. Kamikaze is another throwaway flying nickname that also has roots in World War. I don't remember Helmarok being metal. I remember having like a mask. I assume we're talking about Zelda here. I don't disapprove of that nickname. I think that's fine, but I definitely think it would be better for Braviary than it would be for Skarmory, personally. And I did kind of plan on coming back here because we just touched on it. Starscream I know was the most popular thing. If that's your deal, sure. I remember using this just because I was like, oh, there's nothing else better, I guess I'll use it. But truthfully, I'd rather not force myself to use a nickname for something I don't really care about. I'm not interested in Transformers, so I did use this, but I decided to change it for something that I just feel is better and more to my tastes. Your incredibly complicated thing of naming it after Jim Bowie made me think it was named after David Bowie. You know how many letters Jim is? 3. You could just put Jim Bowie instead of just Bowie, and then that would avoid all of the confusion in the world, and they're like, oh, Bowie Knife. Honestly, I don't even remember. I know Bowie Knife, but I didn't remember the dude's first name. The point is, you made this needlessly confusing by assuming things out of me. Damn it. Meta Ridley kind of works, actually. We saw Ridley for Aerodactyl, and Meta Ridley could work, yeah. I personally wouldn't do it, but if for whatever reason you want to, sure, go nuts. So, Excalibur works, and it's like a clever play on words. The only thing I dislike about it is the idea that I know for Agilaslash, one of the most popular names is Hexcalibur, because that works. It's a ghost, and it's the sword, and that fits perfectly. So, you're just going to have to kind of pick one or the other, or deal with the fact that you're going to have two Pokemon with incredibly similar nicknames. And I feel like we've seen Excalibur-based nicknames for other Pokemon that we've already covered. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it definitely feels familiar enough. Aerosmith, I'm totally fine with naming them after bands. I think it's fine. It works well for flying types. I personally used it on my Swellow, but if you want to, Skarmory works fine too. I'm positive we saw Quicksilver in a past episode. I don't remember what in particular it was for, but if you want to, sure, that's fine. I remember it being a shoe, and I remember it being some sort of superhero, so if that's your dig, go for it. If you don't like Metallica, you probably shouldn't name it Metallica, because that's literally the same thing I was just saying about me naming it Starscream. I don't give a fuck about Transformers, so that's why I chose to not use that nickname anymore. Metallica, there's another band though, it fits perfectly with Skarmory because it's a steel type. You could put on to just about any steel type and it'll work fine. I really do like this reference a lot, but the problem is I don't know how easily other people are going to catch that. Like, I really, really like that. I just feel like, in a weird way, that the name Clockwork is a combination of too common, and that enemy is probably too obscure. So like most people are probably gonna just think of natural Clockwork. It makes sense, but I really like the idea of that. I'm okay with R-Wing as well. I'm actually kind of surprised I've ever seen something like that. Like that feels like a default nickname you could throw onto a bunch of flying types and it'd work perfectly fine. We see Slippy all the fucking time, but R-Wing's actually good and something I would recommend. Also, I really like the name of Featherweight. I don't personally think of it Skarmory because Skarmory is a okay, Skarmory weighs 111 pounds. That'd technically be considered featherweight class in like boxing and stuff. But my idea was thinking it would be better for just a very light bird, like I don't know, whatever the lightest flying type is, or something like Hitmonchan where it would work flying. It double works for Halucha, but I'm totally fine with it. That's a clever name as well. I'll acknowledge this one because it's different. I actually forgot who this character even was, so I had to like double check, and I was like, oh yeah, that chick. She's the girl who leads you to the Ice Temple in Twilight Princess, and that's like all she does. All of them are useless, really. But interesting choice. If you want to, sure, whatever. Dynablade is another good choice, and I think actually, like, now that I'm looking at it, my mind is like, didn't you have a Braviary named that? I'm like, oh shit, did I? So I think that's what I used, but regardless, Dynablade is a very good choice, and I'm realizing there's a lot of Pokemon with cool nicknames for Braviary that I'm going to be having to fight between. If I gotta be honest, I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen Valkyrie a million times by now and gotten fed up with it. So I guess that's a good thing, but there's another one you could throw to a whole bunch of Pokemon and it'll fit. And we'll go ahead, scroll down, and acknowledge this guy, Lancelot. There's another one you could probably throw into a bunch of stupid idiot steel type Pokemon, it'll fit. They're not really interesting, but maybe someone out there thinks so. I was kind of hoping that, you know, because sometimes we don't have to come across this guy, and it's like the one Pokemon I wouldn't want him to fuck up, and he chooses to fuck up, one of my favorites. Anyway, Excalibur we've already seen, Silverwing I'm pretty sure we've already seen, there's nothing to say for it. Steel Beak is fucking dumb. Metallica we've already seen. Rusty, I've seen this like twice already. I'm honest to God not sure why this is such a popular choice. Like, most people are like, oh, Rusty, because it's like, its shiny form looks like it's rusting. I'm like, cool. That's fucking dumb. It's just not a good name in general. Like, we get it, Steel Rust, it's cool. You want your Pokemon to sound cool, or you want them to sound like a fucking dork? Because that's how you make them sound like a dork. I'm gonna acknowledge Terminator. I have that on my list of, like, nicknames where I'm not sure what Pokemon it'll fit. After struggling to find something for Porygon, I decided to just go for Terminator for Porygon because I was like, they're both, like, digital, sort of, I guess. Robot things, whatever. So that's just kind of my thing for Porygon until I find something better. But in general, I think Terminator's an okay nickname you could throw onto a bunch of Pokemon and it'll just stick. Okay, so we've reached the bottom. We've looked at everything. I think we found a bunch of Skarmory nicknames. It's probably going to be a lengthy episode. What's funny is the idea that, like, all the nicknames we found weren't on here. This was just a bunch of gibberish names that I don't understand. They're probably something like Mega Japanese or whatever, or some gods or some shit that I don't care about. So it's funny that the thing where it's like, yeah, here's 50, except it's not actually 50 and they're all terrible and the rest of the internet's better. Whatever, checking the spreadsheet. I didn't know this, but I learned something today. I guess Skarmory is just as bad as Hypno. Anyway, all of these were pretty crap, honestly. But I do think we found plenty of good nicknames, and I'm just gonna... The one that I liked probably the most out of them was just Meta Ridley, just because I thought that was dumb and it made me laugh. I personally wouldn't use it. And then all the other ones that I thought that I really liked were like band things or other weirdo references that I just don't feel like highlighting, like Aerosmith Metallica. Personally, after using Starscream for a while, and I'm like, yeah, I really don't care about Transformers. I just randomly started thinking about Megadeth, and I was like, yeah, that's a good name. And it just sounds... it sounds badass, but it also sounds like you're trying really hard to be cool. I'll acknowledge that. But hey, they're a band, and you're not gonna fucking tell them who's cool. They'll punch you in the face. What's funny, though, is... I don't remember doing this, but apparently I also had my Absol named Megadeth, and I was like, no, we're not doing that. I've got a better one for you. So apparently I used Megadeth and forgot I ever did it. but it's definitely my choice for Skarmory. I don't think it'll change. Metal band, metal Pokemon, much better than Starscream in my opinion. Hey, so I'm an idiot and I actually forgot. I was just about to close my laptop and I was like, oh right, Karma was on the list. I saw that in the previous episode. If you want to use it for Skarmory, that's totally okay. I think maybe something like Wobbuffet's a little bit better for it, but I'm going to acknowledge it because I saw it in the past, someone used it, and I was like, yeah, that's not terrible. But we found a bunch of stuff. I think it was decent. If you got any other contributions or ideas, put them in the comments below. Give a thumbs up to the ones that you think are good. And let's talk about one of the greatest Pokemon ever in history!